Hello YouTube, welcome to another edition of LATECOMER. I'm Bill Robertson, and today we are talking about Star Wars and how it's dead. So I went and watched Star Wars The Last Jedi the other day. I was a little bit late to it. I am a big Star Wars fan, but I wasn't so much of a fan that I was sitting in a line on opening night waiting for the show to start. I did, however, go to a Monday morning, a 10 a.m. showing, a 3D showing, and there was only 3 of us in the theater, and we were all, like me, 43-year-olds, like middle-aged guys, just 3 of us in there in a small theater. And it was interesting to me that that was all that there was. I mean, it was a 10 o'clock in the morning showing, but that's all there was 3 of us. And you know that all 3 of us were pretty hardcore nerds because we went to the 3D show. And I was never a big fan of 3D movies until I watched The Force Awakens in 3D, and I was very, very impressed with the way that it looked. So I decided I would go to The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi in 3D, and you didn't need to watch it in 3D. Like I said, there was 3 of us in the theater, and the guy in front of me was laughing at all the terrible jokes. There were so many terrible jokes in The Last Jedi. It was ridiculous. It was like Disney said, you know what, fans? You guys are stupid. We're going to make the movie we want to make. And it's going to be all-inclusive. It's going to be socially diverse. It's going to be all these things, and people around the world are going to love it. And you fans, doesn't matter. You're just a tiny demographic, doesn't matter. But now if you get on YouTube and you search Star Wars The Last Jedi review fan reaction, if you search for videos with that criteria, you're going to find a lot of angry people. And the tomato meter on RottenTomatoes.com, like, that is just plummeted. It was at like 50% by the end of the weekend. So it started up in the 90s, and within 2 or 3 days ended up down in the 50s. And who knows, maybe by now it's even lower. It's just like Marvel Comics. Like, Disney bought Marvel Comics and they bought Star Wars at about the same time, and Marvel Comics had the same problem. They got culturally diverse, politically correct, and the people who bought Marvel Comics got angry and quit buying the comics. And it seems like they're doing the same thing with Star Wars. Like, The Force Awakens didn't really feel like a Star Wars movie to me, but it was pretty decent. It was okay, here we go in a new direction. Now that we've gotten to The Last Jedi, it just feels like Disney's like, nah, we're doing what we want to do. We know that making these movies is like printing money. They just bought Fox, so now they've got all the Marvel Comics movie property rights. So I don't know. I'm hesitant now about like the young Han Solo movie that comes out next year, and then the next like Star Wars Episode 9, which is going to come out, I don't know, in 2 years. I'm really hesitant because this movie was bad, really bad. There were a couple of moments in it, like Luke seeing R2-D2 again for the first time. Like, they had a nice little moment, and that was kind of cool. But there really wasn't much in there. There should have been a lot more than, just here and there. Like, as soon as the movie started, there's a Star Destroyer bearing down on the rebellion, and a lone X-Wing rises up above it. And it's Poe Dameron, of course. And he's facing down a Star Destroyer and an armada of the First Order, all by himself in an X-Wing. And okay, whatever. This is clearly going to be a joke. As soon as I saw that, that's what I thought. This is going to be a joke. And yeah, he proceeds to trash talk Admiral Hux, and like I said, there's so many jokes in this movie, and they're terrible. They're not funny. Like, when I was in the theater with the two other middle-aged nerds like myself in 3D, watching the movie in 3D, like, the guy in front of me was obviously, like, he was in for whatever. Like, every joke, he laughed. The guy behind me, I didn't hear a peep out of him. My facial expression for pretty much most of the movie was, I really, like, I just kept having these, like, oh my god, really? That's all the way through the movie. That's what I felt. Now, Rian Johnson, like, critically acclaimed, right? The Last Jedi gets all these, like, reviews before it's released, and calling it critically acclaimed. And I'm guessing that's just Disney throwing, like, that's just Mickey Mouse throwing out money to reviewers. Like, here's some money, say this movie's great. Okay, now we got a bunch of critically acclaimed reviews. But now that it's out, the fans are mad. They don't like it. They hate it. And I get it. It's bad. And Rian Johnson, like, he's already got his own side trilogy deal. And with Disney firing Kathleen Kennedy, firing all these people, all these directors from the movies, I feel like it's because they aren't, towing the line. They aren't doing what Disney says you need to do for these movies. And Rian Johnson must have been just like a complete yes man. Like, he's credited writing and directing the movie, but I really highly doubt that even though he wrote it, it was completely him. It seems to me like Disney said, you got to have this in there, you got to have this in there, and Rian Johnson would turn in a script and like, okay, this is great, but you need to have this in there, and you have this in there. We got to be culturally diverse. We got to be politically correct, and you got to put all this crap in there. And Rian Johnson is a self-proclaimed Star Wars fanboy, but it really doesn't show in the movie. It really doesn't. Like I said, there's one or two small glimpses of like, oh, cool, this is Star Wars. Oh, wow, that was cool. But for the most part, it was just bad jokes, endless action scenes that went nowhere. The story for the movie went nowhere. Pointless after pointless plot point. It was like, I assume that Rian Johnson is doing so well at Disney and Star Wars and under Kathleen Kennedy because he was a yes man. Because he said, okay, whatever you say, boss, I'll make the movie you want. And and Disney said, okay, we'll give you the writing credit and the directing credit, even though we told you exactly what you needed to put in here. So I cannot recommend Star Wars The Last Jedi at all. Like, the only thing that I can see redeeming this franchise is the fan backlash being so overwhelming that Disney's like, okay, we gotta like negate this story and redo it, bring everybody back. Obviously you can't bring Carrie Fisher back, so this is pretty much impossible, but that's the only way to save it. At this point, it just feels like a disaster, a train wreck. Rey's character went nowhere. Kylo Ren went nowhere. We were all led to believe that Rey had this great background story. Nothing. Kylo Ren, maybe he would turn good after what happened in The Force Awakens. Nope. Snoke, what's his big mysterious background? Nothing. Doesn't matter. Luke Skywalker, here he is. His X-Wing's underwater, and we're not going to ever use it. But he's dead. And Carrie Fisher is dead. And there's just so much for us old school Star Wars fans to just be like, I really was hoping that this was going to go somewhere. And it turned into a disaster. And I hate to be saying this, but it is. It's a train wreck. I did a fan reaction trailer a couple months ago, and I'll put the link up somewhere up here. I'll put the link up to that, but check that out. And I was hopeful back then. I was doubtful but hopeful. Now I'm just like, you know what, it's over. Maybe the young Han Solo film will be cool because they brought in Ron Howard, and Ron Howard's pretty awesome, but I'm going to keep going to the movies just to see what they do with it because it's curious to me, and I'm a longtime fan, but I don't think it's going to ever like, people complain about the prequels. At least, George Lucas made them and they felt like Star Wars movies. These new movies do not feel like Star Wars movies, and they are going off the map. They're bad. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. There's a lot of fan reactions to The Last Jedi on YouTube here, but I recommend watching Stefan Molyneux's The Problem with Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I'll put the link up here someplace to that, or down in the description. But that's a really good one to watch to kind of pick apart the philosophy and what makes this movie this movie. So anyway, I'm Bill Robertson. This has been the latest edition of Latecomer. Hopefully the next one's happier. And I'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.